Hello everybody and welcome back to Astroneer with your friend Kuros Paladin. And this is a special episode showcasing I guess you could say a feat that I've uh, created, whatever it is that feats are, okay? It is with the Rails update, and it is something that I'm working towards, and I'm hoping you, the community, can help me figure this entire thing out. So I'm just going to show you what it is. We're going to call a rail car to this post. And if you watch, it's a little slow because it's just a rail car. So it's the slowest moving thing. And boom. Look at that. And what is that telling me? Well, that is telling me that that segment or that block is occupied. And then look at that. When it got out of the block, it was no longer occupied. I think this is cool. I really do. And I'm trying to get it where trains on rails will not meet and then deadlock. And this would involve junctions. And this is where I will need help from the community to figure that one out. How did I get this to work, though? Well, it took a while. I am certainly no computer engineer, but I do understand basic logic gates and, or, XOR, NAND. And all I really ended up doing was creating a block in Astroneer, or a block which is on the rails of 4 rail posts long. It could be as long as you really want it to be, although I think there is a limit to how far you can continue to extend, even with extender buttons. But for the purposes of this demonstration, 4 rail posts works out really well. So how did I do it? I also very exaggerated laid out the pins and their tethers and everything, so you could see where everything's going. So believe it or not, all that's happening here is the actual logic and where I'm drawing power from. I'm going to use power to indicate that a block is occupied. And basically the rail is energized. It's sort of like the real world railroads where they use the axle crossing to complete a circuit, and therefore it knows that area is occupied. But how do we do it in Astroneer? Well, I use these pins. So when the train passes here, it activates both of these pins, which then sends to this switch to toggle it. So right now, the toggle, it's off, meaning that, of course, the segment is not occupied. But when it crosses that, it will toggle the switch to suddenly become occupied. On that rail post over there, same thing. There's a pin that goes to this same switch. So right here, I can just do the same thing. Boom. And now you'll see over there, it's got that one going. And over now they flip up because of rendering, but you'll see they're up here now. And now it thinks that this block is occupied. I do this, and now it believes it's not occupied. And that's as simple as it is. It just sends power to this little platform, and then there's a power sensor on it, and that power sensor then goes to each of these signals to tell them what to do. So what is a signal doing? Well, it's fairly straightforward. I finally found a use for this active storage. I've never used them before, but now I have found something to use them for. And all it does is first there is a pin you can see for the active storage, and when you plug into that actually raises and lowers it. So that's one of the things it's going to. The other thing it's going to is just the storage itself. Now I could go into the back of each of these and get really clever and animate stuff. I didn't want to go there. But the other thing it's doing is just when it does lower, it turns those lights off. Okay, so that's what happens on the green side. Now over here on the red, what's going on? Well, I use a switch that is the master switch. So this is, or the control switch, basically. I guess it would be the master supply. I'm not an electrical engineer, okay? But basically, it turns that switch on. Closes the switch so that power gets to this switch, which is always left on, thankfully, which will then come straight into here. Now, this is a stack. You can stack sensors, and underneath here is a power sensor. So when it sees power, it activates this delay repeater, which is on a delay of 5. And then after 5 cycles, it switches this off. Well, that then tells this power sensor, hey, I lost power, so it activates the delay repeater again. In 5 cycles, it turns the switch back on. I can make the flashing be a lot slower. Very slow if I wanted it to be. I can take it down, whatever seems right. I haven't figured out 1 second in Astroneer yet, but I think it's about 5. 1001, 1000. That's a little fast. Maybe 6. 1001, 1000. Nope, that's a little slow. Around 5 or 6. Seems to be it. 1, 2. That might be even a little slow as well. But anyhow, that's all that's going on. It's just a power sensor connected to a delay repeater that then switches the switch on and off. And then, of course, the power going through will feed the platform, and that's what turns the lights on and off. For those of you that may have recognized, I used transit for this. So the vertical is go, proceed, and the horizontal is stop. So that's just what I decided to use. It was easier than an X and an O, but anyhow, that is all I did for this. Now, what I would like to do, if I can figure this one out, actually, let me reset this back to what it should be. So there we go. Here's what I want to figure out. When this signal is showing an occupied, what I want is for this switch configuration, the points to be set this way, as it were. Although they're not really points, but you know what I mean. That the switch is this way. And that works for the most part, because if I set this back to the way it should be, and then I send, I don't know how you got over there. How did you get over there? I don't know. Okay. So if I send this over, I could use coal now because coal's a little faster. It stopped, and that is because that was an invalid. Okay, I understand what happened now. Rules. This is not real world, but this is how I set this up. This siding is actually one way. So this track goes this towards the top of the screen. This track comes down or towards the bottom of the screen, and I just sent this car the wrong way. That's what the problem was. So let's go ahead. We'll do this the right way. So I'll go ahead. We'll send it, and you'll see when it goes in, it will set the switch right. Boom. So now, if something else comes along, like we'll send coal in, coal can't go anywhere because the switch isn't proper. But what I haven't been able to figure out is there. Now that the block is clear, I haven't figured out how to get this to switch the right way, because if this switches the way that I want it to, coal will just proceed. Oh no, it won't, because it wasn't. That's right. I got out of it. I was operating coal. So what did I want to show? Oh, okay, so here's something that I can show you. how this is almost working to what I want it to be. Let's go ahead. We're going to do that. We're going to get rid of coal only because coal is just coal is just a little bit too fast. That's all. Okay. We're going to call that car from over there, and we're going to call it to this rail post. Now, when that switch goes, boom, we can simulate that this guy's going. It will have to wait. And the great thing is, it will wait. Because once it goes by, and then I have the switch automatically switch, look at that, it goes through. So, and then, of course, it sets itself. And the reason that it set itself, sorry, cat jumped on the keyboard there. The way it set itself is, of course, I got this pin here. So when that car came through here, it set that switch this way, the way it did. What I would like to do is, as you saw, that block just cleared, and now I want this switch to set itself to that. And that's the one thing I haven't been able to figure out yet. But I'm really excited about this. This is really kind of cool. It's something that would be really neat to have for automation, because if you know, the only option to prevent two trains from meeting on a track is to double track everywhere, and that's just not worth it. You know, the amount of time it would take to double track and the aggravation of double tracking, it really would be a lot of time. However, if you can put sidings in and then trains figure themselves out, that would work. Now, last thing, all bets are off when it comes to called cars. When you use, like I just did here, we'll set that switch to that way. If I were to call here to this rail post right here, it's going to pick the shortest path. And called cars have a mind of their own. And of course it called that one. And well, it actually showed what I was trying to do right there. Called cars will set switches on their own. So when they approach, they'll just say, hey, I need the switch to be this way, and they just do it on their own. So watch, coal will just do it. So that would sort of violate what I was after, which is I want to make certain that trains don't end up where they shouldn't be and switches don't get switched the way they shouldn't be. So that's another thing that I have to figure out. However, I'm getting there. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear from you. I'm really kind of excited. I think this is kind of cool. Signaling is really kind of neat, and this I think is just something that I just really liked it. I was really just like, oh, this is so cool. I could get it to get the semaphore looking thing going on, and then the flashing light was like an afterthought. And I'm really glad with it. Oh, I don't want to be in there. But I just want to get the switches to work now. And if I can get the switches to work, that will be really cool. Everybody, I hope you had a great time watching the video. And like I said, I hope you can give me some suggestions. As you can see, I went through a lot of prototypes to get here. I had a very, very long example going on here. This was my first stab at it over here. I had some fun creating logic gates over here. Over here is my auto sorting facility. You may remember our auto sorting facility in the YouTube video. Now it's hooked up to a train station. So now you just pull up a train and it will unload itself and figure itself out. That takes, of course, a lot to do. And then over here I was trying to figure out a rail yard where I could store cars and have them be called automatically. So I'm having a lot of fun playing with them and trying to figure them out. Again, if you have suggestions or you'd like to help me out, let me know in the comments below or shoot me a message over in Discord, Kuros Paladin. Everybody, I hope you had fun, and I'll see all of you in the next episode of Astroneer. Take care, and bye! Hello, everybody. Guess what? Just after I finished recording the prior episode, I had an inspiration. So I've added this to the end of the prior video because I think I've got it figured out. Now, something to remember, this only works for cars that are sent on their way. It will not, called cars will mess this up. Because called cars have a mind of their own, and they will set switches as needed to get to where they were called to. So if you have a called car on your rail network, this won't work. But I think I got this figured out. So my prior episode, or prior recording, was this one over here. And I've shortened it up a little bit, but I also lengthened it. I now have 2 blocks of 3 rail posts each. So I have one block here that is just from here to here, and then I have a siding, and then I have another block of 1, 2, 3 rail posts. Now this is all the same as I described before. All I've added was some logic to the switching. So I know visually it looks like the line on the left is the main line, and the line on the right is the siding. Think of it more, these are one-way track, and this is, think of it as driving in the North America. So trains proceed to the top of the screen over here on the right, and then proceed to the bottom of the screen on the left. So as you can see up here, I have a clear aspect, or proceed aspect, and therefore the main line is clear to go through because there's no train there. Similarly, this has a proceed, and the main line will go right through. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to send one car in, and then I'm going to stop it halfway in. Well, I'm going to try to. There. Now, you'll notice the switch changed. It was a proceed with a straight through. I managed to get it to change the switch. That means if there was a train proceeding along here, for whatever reason, it would get to here and it would stop. And I can go ahead and mimic that. So imagine there's just a train here and it's on its way. It's moving, okay? And you'll see it's hit the switch. Now I have a delay there for a reason. There's a reason for that delay. And then you'll see it got there and it stopped. Because, hey, I've got a stop. Okay? Now let's say that this block clears. You'll see it does its thing. There's a delay, and look at that. It makes its way through. So how did I do it? It occurred to me I was overthinking it, and that's a first for me, right? Overthinking, holy cow. So what did I do? It was fairly straightforward. I realized I already have a signal coming that says whether or not that block is occupied. So what do I have to do? Well, same thing. I will have a switch here with a power sensor. And then the delay repeater I'll explain in just a bit. So it's a good thing all these posts have power on them because you need a lot of power. So again, I'm just pulling power, and then similar to the block that it's monitoring, if this is energized, that means there is a train on the block, so it will protect itself. So what I'll do is I'll just flip the switch to mimic that block over here to the right of the screen is occupied, and you'll see it didn't do anything because the switch is set to only act when the block becomes clear. So it did exactly what it was supposed to. It did nothing. If we turn it off, nothing will happen but watch the pin, because you'll see it will do something. Boom, and that's when it would have set it. So what I really should have done over here is I have a button repeater because I was running out of segments. This is the most I've ever used repeaters. Okay, I rarely use them, and now I'm really liking how you can get logic out of them. So anyhow, so I have this pin right here goes all the way back to tell me that the block now to the left of the screen is occupied. So if I go ahead and I activate this, which, how can I do? I guess I have to come all the way over here to do it then. So we'll come over here, we'll flip that switch, boom, it's occupied. If I can get over here fast enough, there, you may have saw that it activated. Okay, and we've got our flashing red to tell us, hey, don't go in, stop. Okay. Now, here I'll just flip the switch. So you'll see it's set to mode, so it's only watching when power is lost. So if once I lose power, boom, now it's set that it thinks, you know, that that block is clear. So if I come back over here, I can set this to de-energize the block, whatever you want to call it. And it did not like that. It really got angry about that one. Wow, okay. Yeah, it got angry about that. So there are some problems that can occur if you just plunk rail curves on the middle of something and then toggle this. You know, if I were to just plunk this car down and send it through one of these sensors, it'll cause a problem, of course. I have not yet figured out a way to determine direction. Maybe I can do it using the hoops, you know, the recreational items. So these things, I might be able to do something with these and then say, hey, okay, I give them a, I don't know what you would call it, an order. So a significance. So I could say, for instance, this one triggered and then this one triggered, so I know the train is moving to the right. If this one triggered, then this one triggered, the train is moving to the left, and I can probably get a little better control out of it. And then, of course, with all of these sensors, holy cow, I mean, all these pins, yeah, maybe I could get a lot out of it. But right now, I'm fairly happy with this. This is doing exactly what I was looking for. It is controlling uncalled cars. Now, like I said, called cars will mess this up. A called car, I can even show you. A called car, if I were to call one to all the way to this end, so I'd have to pull this one off, it will ignore the rules that have been set. Because you'll see it set the switch from my logic, but as soon as the car gets there, it'll set it because it's a called car and it's looking for the shortest route to get there. Now, is this a problem? Well, in that situation, no, because I have a proceed and the main line is clear. And when it gets through there, it'll be fine. But now, what happens when I go the other way? I don't know. Let's see. You know what? Maybe I will be okay. So we'll call it back. And here, actually, this would be okay because here it will just stay. So maybe a called car won't have any problems. Called cars may not cause problems here. Now, I'd probably have to test this on my other one, where my siding is the other way. It's mirrored. so I don't know what would happen here. On this one, yes. I think what would happen... Actually, it would probably do this. It would be fine. Because really, this is... Well, I'm looking at this right now, is no different than this. Now that I look at it, it's no different. Yeah, it is no different. So yeah, it would work. So I'm really plowed. I'm plowed. I, I have not had anything to drink yet tonight. I am really proud of what I've created here. This is cool. And if you want to get a better look at it, if you want to know more about it, drop me a line over on Discord, Kuros Paladin, 2 words. And just let me know. I always love having people play with me too, so if you're interested, let me know. But this is really cool, and I think I'm going to start implementing it in some of my other saves. But here's the thing. It took me an hour and a half just to do this. Okay, now did I need the semaphores? No, I don't need the semaphores. The semaphores are my thing. I think those are just really cool, all right? Without the semaphores, this could have been done a lot faster. Because the semaphores, as you know, I have OCD, so I had to make certain they were nice and straight, and I got the green organic for go and the red for stop. If I didn't have the semaphores, this would have been a lot faster. But this is working really cool. Everybody, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you think of something that I did not see, a problem that may occur. Yes, in this example, this block right here is occupied. So I haven't figured out how to do that one yet. How to have a single track block notify the next block, single track block, that hey, I'm occupied, and how do I resolve that? Now the game itself will not allow trains to collide, and even if, let's say, I had coal coming up really fast behind this slow moving thing, coal would just move, and slow. It would just keep, it would be right on this one's butt. But it would, that's the cars moving in the same direction, trains moving in the same direction. I have not figured out, let's say I had a car coming this way, or a train coming this way, and this block is occupied. How do I prevent another train from being here on this one? That I haven't figured out. Because the other thing, as I mentioned before, I don't use these segments very much and these sensors very much, so I don't know how far you can go practically in the game with these sensors. I know you can use delay button repeaters and keep going, but I don't know if there's a limit, and I'd have to find that one out. If anybody out there has played with these and got a button, a series of button repeaters to go halfway around the planet, awesome. Then it would just be a matter of laying down a bunch of button repeaters and basically saying, hey, this block is occupied until the next siding. Also, I just, as I said with OCD, over here in this one, I laid it out so you could see everything. Over here, you'll notice it looks really nice and clean. That's because I attached all the segments to the bottom of the rail. So it looks a lot cleaner. And it's nice and clean that way. So, everybody, let me know what you think in the comments below. This is really something that I'm just really excited about. Because now I can have multiple trains wandering around on one line of track, and if I have sidings properly created, then a train will just sit here and wait until the block that it's trying to get into is clear. And this could even be used, I am guessing, with stations. And you can play a game with stations by making the route, by having them be the siding, which usually would be the case anyhow, and called cars and anything traveling past would just go right by it because it's the shorter path, and therefore it wouldn't bother the station, and a train could be parked in that station. So I'm really excited about this. If you do use this in something, please let me know. I want to see how you end up using this. Now, I have not seen anybody else try this yet. I did a search for Astroneer. I did on YouTube, Astroneer switching block detection. I didn't see anything that came up. But if somebody else came up with this, then okay, they beat me to it. I wasn't trying to be the first. I was trying to figure it out on my own, and I'm really glad I did figure it out. I will give a little bit of credit to I did have to view a YouTube video because, as I said, I am not a computer engineer, so I don't know how. I know how AND gates work. I just didn't know how to create one in the game. So I know how an AND and an OR and a XOR and a NAND, all those work. But I just didn't know how to create them in the game. And the delay repeater, the flashing light, though, that one I figured out on my own. And I do like that. I just like the little flashing light. It's so cool. So that's all I want to say. I don't want to go too much longer. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. So I will see all of you in the next video of Astroneer. It's been a long day. Of Astroneer. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages, take care, good night, and see you next time. Bye.